About slavery, but few discuss paper genocide. We did not all come from Africa, and most of us have Aboriginal roots that were stripped away due to reclassification and miseducation. As a native Black American and a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. If you want to learn how to trace your genealogy and apply for tribal citizenship, go to nativeblackancestry.com to schedule a consultation.
They don't want you to remember this. You not no slave, you indigenous. Fuck how they painted them Indians. You went to war with the French and the British, man. Quite frankly, you was kings, Merovingians. They took the women and men, made them prisoners, raised up the children to worship their images, set up a lab to the genes and they mixed them, and this shit get way deeper than your pigment.
Man, you know what's ironic? So many in Latin America spend their time trying to negate or be contrarian to Native Black Americans' Aboriginal claims. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure you guys have seen it on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. These Latin Americans claiming that they're the true indigenous people and we come from African slaves, right? But we really got to talk about this identity crisis that they don't want to admit to. On one hand, they diminish their African heritage. They don't want to be seen as Black. They don't want to be associated with that history, so they erase it, right? And then on the other hand, they downplay their European roots too, even though their last names, their religion, their language, their architecture, and even their entire political systems are direct inheritance from conquistadors and colonizers. So what's left? They try to cosplay as indigenous. They wrap themselves in feathers and earth tones, claim the identity of the very people their forefathers enslaved, forcefully took, tried to genetically annihilate. I mean, and now in 2025, they're running around claiming great-great-great-grandma was a Maya princess or an Aztec warrior. I mean, damn. They don't embrace indigenous identity to honor it. They embrace it as a shield, a way to deflect from the fact that many of them are descendants of colonizers, a way to keep from realizing that the blood of conquistadors still flows through their veins. And here's the wild part. They weaponize that false indigeneity against Native Black Americans. They use it as a talking point. We're the true indigenous, not you. But this isn't about truth. It's about protecting an illusion. Because if they admitted the fullness of their heritage, African, European, and indigenous, in some cases, then they'd have to confront uncomfortable realities, the role of their ancestors in slavery, in conquest, in paper genocide, and in the erasure of the real copper-colored nations of the Americas. So instead of reconciling with that, they live in a permanent state of contradiction. From colonizer to indigenous to fully European, to Black to escape African roots, to anti-Black to accept it. I mean, that's the Latin America identity crisis in a nutshell. It's not about who they are. It's about who they're desperately trying not to be. So guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button on the way in. Hit the Cash App if you support the mission. Make sure to check out the website, nativeblackancestry.com. And let's get this show on the road. We've got a couple of honored guests, as always. We've got Miss Empress and Miss Joshina in the building. How you guys doing?
Hi, Mike.
Hey. Nice to see you, as always. Let the folks know, have you seen any of this strange behavior from the Latin American community? Have you seen this kind of mestizo myth, as I like to point it out?
See it all the time, Mike. I mean, it's like kind of astonishing about how they go around and claiming indigenous, which we know, historically speaking, that some do have indigenous background, some few tribes out there still. But for the majority of them, they're white tea going around claiming indigenous when they constantly shout to keep the race pure and to preserve the race. It's kind of like crazy, don't you think?
Man, it screams identity crisis. Yet we're the ones who everybody wants to run around trying to gaslight into having some kind of identity crisis, right?
Right. And that's like, I'm trying to grasp the concept of it. And, like I always try to put myself in other people's shoes to see where they're coming from and see their point of view. And it seems to me exactly like what you said. They wash out the indigenous blood and proud to be of Spain, but at the same time, they hate. It's like a form of self-hate, I would think.
Yeah. They definitely don't embrace the European heritage, at least not like their forefathers did. But Josh, what do you think? I mean, have you seen these Latin American folks who are so hell bent on convincing us we're not indigenous, while at the same time they try to hide their European and African ancestry and just claim they all come from the Aztec and the Maya, and they're the real Olmecs too.
That's kind of like all of a sudden to me. It is come down within the last year or so. They say that, we have hop on bandwagons or whatnot, but within the last 7 months or so, we've seen this rise that, they're indigenous to this land. But we have receipts and we have facts that we're going to go over tonight and disprove that.
Hey, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the facts. I know that Empress was doing some research in preparation for tonight's broadcast. What kind of information were you able to unearth?
Well, during my research, I found out a lot of things, and it's a few key points that I want to hit on. And it's about the immigrants that were brought over here during colonialism in South America and other places in America. First of all, according to Jose C. Moya in the Oxford Handbook of Latin America History, there were about 1 million Spanish immigrants and about 500,000 Portuguese immigrants to their prospective possessions and brought into the Americas. According to J.H. Eliot in Empires of the Atlantic World, the total number of immigrants from Spain to the Indies over the length of the 16th century and generally put at 200,000 to 250,000, or an average of 2,000 to 2,500 a year. That's a lot of people. Let's see where this takes us. Initially, the vast majority of immigrants were men, but as this initial wave of men began to settle down, more women and families began coming over as well. So you know what that means. Since the first wave that was coming over as men, and women didn't start coming over till after the men settled, what were these men doing in the meantime? Taking advantage of the indigenous women that were there already. Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. Time. Those were quite a few numbers that you rattled off there. Was that hundreds of thousands of Europeans migrating over?
Yes, this was during the colonial period. Only 200,000 to 250,000, with an average of 2,000 to 2,500 a year. So wow. During the colonial period for the 16th and 17th century, that's what the numbers are coming up with.
So basically, on average, every year of European, Spanish, Portuguese colonialism, they're bringing over about 2,000 to 2,500 colonizers, right? And most of them are men. Not only men, but probably military-aged men, probably conquistadores, probably mercenaries, knights, right?
Exactly. And it states that here in the paper. Even though these numbers are presented by well-regarded experts, take them with a grain of salt. Migration and population figures are notoriously difficult to gather in a society marked by drastic divisions in social class. So with the social class, meaning military, rich, poor, or craftsmen. So it all depended on the amount of money or the status quo that you had to come up over here, but the numbers are still the same.
Interesting. And when you talk about the social aspect of that, You know what? What really comes to mind is the chart. I'm sure that you guys have probably seen this chart before. It's like a Spanish caste chart, and it lists the different, racial hierarchy and yeah. I mean, they really got it down to a T. I mean, in North America, the British, the French, they got Negro, mulatto, Indian, freedman, but the Spanish, they got octoroon, mestizo. You got this, you got that. Matter of fact, hold on. I wonder if I can zoom in on this so that I can read some of these. So, reading this from top left to right, we've got Español con India mestizo. You've got mestizo con Espanola Catizo. You've got castizo con Espanola Espanol. You've got Espanol con Mora mulatto. Then mulatto con Espanola Morisco. Then Morisco con Espanola Chino. Then Chino con India Salta Atas. I mean, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. They got it down to a T. I mean, you say that there was over 2,000 of these military age European colonizers coming over every year, and they're not coming over with women. We can only draw one conclusion, that the majority of Latin Americans that claim indigenous ancestry have that ancestry because their European ancestors forced themselves on the local indigenous women. And why is that something that we never really hear from the Latin American community?
I think they try to deny the fact that they were colonized and enslaved, and they're quick to say things about the native Black Americans and say that we are descendants of slaves, when we know that there was a huge Black indigenous population here besides the West Africans that were brought over here during the
Hold on. Some of them do highlight that we are descendants of slaves, and some of us are descendants of slaves. That's not even the issue. What they really try to gaslight us into believing is that we're descendants of African slaves.
Yes,
and
exactly.
The vast majority of African slaves went to Brazil, South America, the Caribbean. Your average Mexican descends from an African slave more so than a Black American, right?
Yes, very much so. To add to that, it also says that additionally, it is crucial to point out of the different places in the Western Hemisphere had different migration rates. For example, in the 16th century, most immigrants traveled to the viceroyalties of New Spain and Peru. These areas remained the most populated of Spain's possessions, but as economic conditions changed over the following 200 years, like the growth of the sugar industry in Cuba or the growing importance of cities like Buenos Aires, immigration rates also fluctuated. In some areas of the New World, people of European descent eventually came to be the majority population. People in the New World of European descent eventually came to be the majority population, Rio de la Plata, which made these regions settler colonies similar to Canada, Australia, or the United States. Other regions of New Spain, Guatemala, Bolivia, had much higher indigenous populations, so the cultural impact of immigration was mitigated, although still substantial. Now, did you hear that one? That right there.
Wait, hold on. So just like how in North America, even though at one point in time the Black indigenous were the majority, but we get invaded over hundreds of years to where we're the minority in our own ancestral homeland. You're saying the same thing happened to Central and South America. Them Europeans of a Spanish and Portuguese flavor just kept flooding over and kept flooding over. And when the men came over, they forced themselves and grafted them onto the indigenous women to where now the European is the majority.
Exactly. That key point right there. And that's why you have a huge difference in the Latin community predominantly Mexicans or, just South America in general, that have a huge white tea population compared to their heavily melanated Afro-Indigenous population. They were basically washed out and coerced and taught to believe that being lighter is better. So they all joined in, and even after independence, still preserved keeping the race pure and bettering the race. So they constantly look and search for white tea Spaniards to mate with, have children with, instead of their own indigenous roots.
I see. Well, you know what, guys,
So,
we're gonna cut to
another key point is.
Oh, hold on. There's a little bit of a delay. Go ahead and finish out that key point, and then we're gonna cut to a quick commercial break, and then see what Joshina has to present for us.
Okay, so the last one is between 1492 and 1950, approximately 5.36 million Spaniards immigrated to the Americas in two major waves, primarily to Spanish colonies in Latin America. It is important to note that figures vary among historians due to different data sources and the exclusion of certain periods. Colonial area, which was 1492 to 1824. 5.36 million.
From 1492 to when?
1824, the colonial era.
1820. So from 1492 to 1824, there was over 5 million Europeans that specifically migrated to Central and South America.
Yes, sir.
Damn. And 5 million Europeans with a healthy mortality rate and a healthy birth rate. Imagine how fast they can reproduce, especially when they're forcing themselves on the indigenous women. Whereas in North America, they want to gaslight us into believing that we descend from African slaves when only 300,000 or so African slaves, they claim, were shipped to North America. And you can't take 300,000 African slaves with a high mortality rate and a low birth rate and have that balloon to the 45 million plus Black American population we have present day. That's just not logistically possible, right? But you know, guys, quick commercial break. For everybody that's new to my content, I really want you guys to check out my website, nativeblackancestry.com. I built this website with tons of historical resources for folks that are looking to learn more about Black indigeneity or looking to learn how to trace their family's genealogy. Matter of fact, you can even book a one-on-one consultation with me where I teach you the 3-step process that me and my family use to trace our heritage and get tribal citizenship with the Muskogee Creek Nation.
Hi, my name is Frances Tuck, and I contacted Mike from Mike TV on YouTube because I wanted to find out about my family's Native American history that I believed existed. Through the research that I was able to do through Mike TV, I was able to find out that our name is indeed on the registry. I had a consultation with Mike today, and because of his advice and the research that he has done, I am now confident that I'm able to find my family's roots in the Native American History database. Thank you, Mike.
Let's talk about it, y'all. Real people, real results. And just the other day, I officially launched my course, Hidden Heritage, The Untold Story of Native Black Americans. I've been working on this for 2 years for folks that, see a lot of my content on YouTube, on TikTok, but want, a more formulaic approach to researching Black Americans' indigenous roots. This is going to be a full course taking us from the early days of colonization all the way to present day, tying all the different organizations and different bad actors that were a part of not just colonizing our ancestors, but reclassifying them through the process known as paper genocide. So definitely check out the website, nativeblackancestry.com. We've got a lot of historical evidence for you guys who are looking for some heavy-handed receipts. But speaking of receipts, Joshina, I heard you came with some receipts today. You sourced some videos for us, right?
Yes, I did, and I think they highly relate to the topic, and I'm excited to go over some.
Hey, well, let's get on into it. Let's see. We'll start with this one. What are we gonna see with this video right here?
Okay, so this one right here is a Native American saying that she doesn't agree with Mexicans referring to themselves as indigenous to this land or being indigenous Americans.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go.
Yeah, no, trust me. I come from an indigenous background, so a lot of my family is dark skinned. A lot of my aunties are married to a very like dark skinned indigenous men too, especially like from Oaxaca and all of that stuff. And it's even from my own people that I get this, my accent, or even my tias. Why is she married to that prieto, which is like dark skin? So trust me,
Why is she married to that prieto? Damn, I ain't heard that one before. That sounds offensive. That prieto. What's a prieto, Joshina? I don't know if you know.
No, I've heard mayate, but not prieto.
Yeah, damn.
I know. Even my own people discriminate against their own people for the skin color because they're colorist. Although I didn't experience that, my sisters did. Although I didn't experience that, my aunties who married dark-skinned indigenous men from Oaxaca did. Especially because we don't fit the beauty standards because we have very indigenous features. They call us things like indios, nopaleros. They're this Dominican guy who just stitched me talking about they have to.
Okay, I'm a little distracted. Is she eating corn? What is she eating that is dripping wet out of her? I'm just a little distracted here. Maybe it's my ADD kicking in.
Hell.
She real sloppy with it.
Be careful with me because I've been so fake-ish, trying to sound so cool. Let me tell you about this type of women. Like, my grandpa didn't even speak Spanish. My grandpa spoke their native language. Sadly, I don't.
Wait, your grandpa spoke. What was the name of the native? I'm calling cap on this one. I'm sorry, I'm calling cap. If your grandpa spoke his native tongue, I think you should at least know the name of the language, ma'am.
Know it though, but hey, even my own people hates indigenous people. So
damn. Okay, I mean,
it's like they still discriminate against each other. We have one calling herself, an indigenous American, one calling herself, and she's talking about the other ones is calling herself indigenous or native to the land, and she's discriminating, and she's saying, the lighter, the darker, it's just a practice that's just like bred into these people, no matter what. They tend to use the color scheme to justify if they're native or if they're indigenous or if they're just mazitos. So to me, that just proves that we have a big identity crisis here, and it just gets real deep, people.
Yeah, and you know what? A big difference that I noticed, because somebody surface level could make the argument, well, Mike, she's talking about colorism in the Latin American community, and there's colorism in the Native Black American community. But here's the difference. The colorism in our community was forced upon us through segregation, laws, massacres, lynching, et cetera, et cetera. Black Americans getting preferential treatment for being able to pass. And not even preferential treatment, but just, damn it, being treated like a human being if somebody thought you were fair enough skin to potentially be European, right? So when you see the colorism in the Native Black American community, first of all, it's not to the same extent as in Latin America, for one. But for two, there's some envy from the darker skin community because fairer skinned people in our community typically get certain privileges. And certain fair-skinned individuals in our community have sold out our community, right, in the past. But when you look at the colorism in the Latin American community, it's because they want to breed the blackness out of that region. They have practices like Major La Raza, the blanqueamiento, where they literally wanted to breed the melanin out of the population. So, Native Black Americans on one hand, it's like we got a little tit for tat, tongue in cheek, light skinned versus dark skinned jokes that we do here and there. It's not that serious. But in Latin America, they literally despise their melanated heritage and they want to breed it out of existence. That's deep. And if there's anybody that doubts what we're talking about, just Google blanqueamiento. Just Google it. It'll pull up right on Wikipedia, okay? Blanqueamiento means whitening. It was a social, political, and economic practice used in many post-colonial countries in the Americas and Oceania to improve the race, mejorar la raza, towards an supposed ideal of whiteness. And this is a representation of exactly that. You would have the dark-skinned indigenous woman or the dark-skinned African slave, and you would force her to have a baby with a Spaniard. So now the baby comes out like a mulatto or a mestizo. Then that daughter is forced to have a baby with a Spaniard. And now in just a couple generations, that bloodline is European presenting, right?
Yeah, we see it over and over again, and there's plenty of examples.
Yeah, it gets deep. It's deep. But yeah, let's see what this next clip you have is. What's this? Mexicans and Native Americans are not treated the same. Let's take a look.
Mexicans want to claim that they're Native Americans, but at least in the US, Mexicans and Native Americans are not viewed the same way. They're not treated the same. In continuing my legal historical research, I found a law from 1909 Arizona, two of them that have to do with the way Mexicans and Native Americans were viewed by the first law says Mexican citizens with an intention of becoming American citizens have every legal voting right that white men have in Arizona.
Whoa, so you're telling me Mexicans have always inherently had white privilege in North America?
Not only that, they fought for it.
Oh, so was this part of that Major La Raza?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It all connects. It all connects. They fought to be identified as YT. And, they brought it from their homes to, out into the public. And that's how they judge everyone else around them, by that color scale.
And you know what? I have heard, statistically speaking, 56% of Latinos identify as white on U.S. Census records. So, yeah.
So they have access to these rights that are otherwise reserved just for white American citizens. At the very same time, the state legislature that passed that law granting these rights to some Mexican citizens also says, we want the Navajo to stop getting land west of this river. Stop granting them this land, kick them out of there, because that land has been reserved for white men.
Whoa, so you're telling me Mexicans migrate to the US of A, identify as white, get white privilege, and then try to destabilize and forcibly remove indigenous North American tribes. And then their descendants in 2025 are on TikTok and YouTube talking about they're the real Indians.
It's ironic.
That's diabolical.
It's ironic.
Yeah, this is some wicked work, y'all. This is some real wicked work. But let's see what else old boy had to say. Let's see. Where's my clip at? Here it is.
So it becomes really clear that in this time period, Mexicans were seen as, you can give them some rights. They can have access to voting. They can be viewed somewhat similarly to white American men in Arizona. But the Navajo, they don't get rights. They don't get land. Send them back to their reservation so they stop taking what rightfully belongs to white men. Now, that's not to speak for cultural, ethnic, other kind of racist issues that may have been happening at the time, but I think it's interesting that at least legally here, Mexicans were given some rights and Native Americans were seen as deserving nothing.
Damn. But nowadays, the descendants of the conquistadors are claiming that they're the true Native Americans. What? And we were just talking about their policy to better the race. I think that's what this clip here is about, right?
That's exactly what this receipt is. It's going to show some young gentlemen talking about what they practiced at home and how they're treated as a group if they do not practice this.
Older Mexican man won't let his daughter date a black man, but she could date a white man.
Because of the skin color. It's almost sad because they say para mejorar la raza. That's what they be saying.
To better the race.
Yeah.
Fucked
up, bro. They're fucked up, bro.
So when my grandma moved to the city and my grandpa moved to the city and they met, my grandma automatically just seemed better because she was with this guy from Michoacan that was light skinned and white with green eyes. And she looked like Felipe, dark, short. And that she thought she was better, fool. Like, I swear to God, for my grandma just passed, but she loved my nephew more than she loved my niece.
Damn, and she loved my nephew more than she loved my niece. The nephew must have been lighter skinned, huh?
Of course.
Damn.
That's what they do. They treat their children differently. They treat their family members differently. There's times when they won't even invite certain family members over to the home on holidays because they're a different skin color. They try to breed out the indigenous, and now they want to sit there and claim that they are indigenous. They are a different people. They're a whole different race. They're mixed with so many different things, European, Filipino, and African American, which they try to not tie themselves to. In some cases, they are mixed with indigenous people, but you got to remember they have try to breed this out. So what do we have left? We have a people that are cosplaying as indigenous people.
And you know what? Speaking of that, Sheena, I think you were telling me before the broadcast that you also found some receipts about that Filipino migration into Central and South America, right?
Oh yeah, that'll be me right here. I got it pulled up already, ready.
Oh, it was Empress. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got you guys mixed up. I was talking to Empress, but I called her Joshina. My bad.
It's all right. I got you, Chief. Okay, during the Manila Galleon trade of 1565 to 1815, thousands of enslaved or forced Filipinos were transported by the Spanish across the Pacific to Mexico, Central America, and Peru. The trade connected the Philippines with Spain's colonies in the Americas and was a key route for the trans-Pacific slave trade.
Damn. So you're telling me the reason why we see a bunch of Mexicans that look Asian is because thousands of Asians were shipped from the Spanish colony of the Philippines to the Spanish colonies in the Americas?
Correct. That would be correct. A lot of them that look Asian are because they are mixed with Filipino. It goes on to say that the Spanish exploitation, the colonizers circumvented official decrees against indigenous enslavement in the Philippines by taking advantage of the pre-colonial bonded serf system. Filipinos were also forced into service as sailors on the galleons and faced harsh and deadly conditions during the voyage, but a lot of them did make to South America. Enslaved through conflict, the Spanish and their allies regularly enslaved Muslim captives from conflicts in the southern Philippines, particularly from Mindanao and Jolo. So those were the regions they were took from and brought here to the Americas.
And I think I found the map. This is what we're referring to, the Dia del Galeon.
Yes.
Damn. So straight west of the West Coast is Asia, the Philippines. So they were going over there to the Philippines because the Spanish had colonized the Philippines. Most people in America don't even know about that, haven't even heard about it. But yeah, the Philippines was colonized by the Spanish. And when they were enslaving the Filipinos, they were shipping them over here to the Americas. And guys, you know how I really found out about this? I recently hired some virtual assistants from the Philippines. I got some virtual assistants in the back end that helped me with editing some videos and clipping some live streams up and stuff. And when I went to pay them, I had to do the currency conversion. And believe it or not, the currency that the Filipinos use is called the Filipino peso. And when I seen this, I said, the Filipino peso, like Mexico, like Latin America peso. And then I did the research, and oh yeah, they got colonized by the Spanish, just like we did. And they were shipping them over here and having them mix in with the local population, which is why a lot of them Mexicans look Asian. But you'll never hear them talk about their Filipino roots. You'll never hear them talk about their European roots. You'll never hear them talk about their African roots. In 2025, they want to cosplay as full-blooded indigenous folk. All right. Okay.
One more key point was, it also says that sale by native elites, native Filipino chiefs who already held slaves, sold them to Spaniards in Manila, who then put them on galleons bound for the Americas. Boy, that's so sad. These Filipinos ain't shit, just like these damn Africans.
Damn, selling their own people into slavery.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe it too, because the indigenous population of the Philippines is heavily melanated, Afro.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
A lot of Asians, like the Koreans and the Chinese, they look down on the Filipinos, the Taiwan, the Vietnamese. They're seen as like the niggas of the Asians because they're a little brown, right?
And the Cambodian and the Laos and the Hmong, they all are darker Asian. Some of them even have, do you know Cambodian, Laos, and some Hmong have afros over there? When you see them, they got afros, they have braids. And you know, we have a huge Cambodian population right here in California in the valley, and they not too far from us. They not. So I believe it. I believe that the lighter ones were selling the darker ones.
Okay, I can dig it. As it's making a lot more sense now, guys. We are connecting the dots. But you know what? Let's see what else we had. Joshina, what is this one here about?
So I just said on this one that it was more like pretending crime. Because she really is. She's calling out, you know, other like this is another one calling out Mexicans, saying that, you know, they don't have the right to call themselves indigenous. But she kind of like goes deep into her reasoning why. So she gives us another explanation why they don't have the right to call themselves indigenous.
Okay, let's see. So she's kind of calling out her own people, but it sounds like she might still kind of be on some fuck shit.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like it's indigenous. I mean, like pretending crime. Like, girl, how, you know, the pot calling the kettle black in some cases.
Well, let's get our popcorn, y'all. Let's go.
My personal experience, the problem isn't when Mexicans reference our native ancestry. The problem is when Mexicans.
And this is Major La Raza right in front of her face. Don't she look like a white girl? I mean, she looks damn near indistinguishable from a white girl. I mean, yes, long black hair, right? But just skin phenotype, like a melanin. I mean, that Major La Raza ran its course, goddammit. They were successful with that shit. Okay.
Play blood quantum, and when Mexicans play pretendian. Now, in my grad cohort, I was the only Latina, and there was also only one.
I gotta run that back. She said Mexicans are playing pretendian.
The problem isn't when Mexicans reference our native ancestry. The problem is when Mexicans play blood quantum, and when Mexicans play pretendian. Now, in my grad cohort, I was the only Latina, and there was also only one native kid. And me and him, we were like, I see you. And we were quick friends. We both came from California. He was a NorCal guy. I'm a SoCal girl. And we just kind of like got each other. Like, he was the closest thing I had to home because nobody else in that cohort knew what it meant to go to high school where the campus was half trailers. This guy would invite me to the Native student meetings. And in these meetings, you introduce yourself, say either I'm an ally or I'm Native, this is my tribe. And so I would go and say, hi, I'm Dreama, I'm Mexican, and blah, 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 major, whatever. And I feel like that is the colonial identity I carry. I can't say anything else, or else that would make me pretendian. When I say I'm Mexican, like that kind of fills in the blanks as to why I'm in attendance. is because
no, you being Mexican doesn't explain why you're popping up at Indigenous meetings, Indigenous student body meetings, Indigenous groups. No.
I'm here as somebody of Native descent rather than as somebody who carries a Native identity. And that is the difference.
Oh, okay. So this is where it's the pretendian on pretendian. She calling out her fellow Mexicans as pretendians, but she's also saying she's somebody who's Native. She just doesn't have Native identity, but she has Native heritage. But she ain't talking about the Filipino admixture or the African admixture or the European. Hey, it's kind of like how I not only have Black Indigenous heritage, but I also have some German admixture. But imagine if I exclusively try to identify as German and go to the German meetings and pop up at the German Student Body Association. I just exclusively want to hone in on that little tiny piece of my ancestry and ignore everything else. That would be wild. People would look at me like, yo, that's crazy. I mean, I know your great-great-grandma might be German, but yo, you wildin', right? And in that same vein, now we see this Latin American identity crisis unfold right before our eyes.
And this friend invited me to the Indian American Community House on Governor's Island. He was a artist, he was a resident artist or something like that. I don't know the title. And we workshop plays for 2 summers straight. Like, you can be chill. You can be chill as hell and involve yourself in Native communities as an ally, as somebody of Native descent. But once you start playing this, like, oh, I look more Native than you because I'm Mexican, like, that's bye. One time we went to the Columbia powwow, and he's like, oh my God, I know somebody from college there. There's a pretendian over there. I turn around. I go, he's Mexican, isn't he? He was a brown Mexican man going around California saying, I'm Native. And past that, he can't really say much because he doesn't have like a Native Mexican identity.
But you're also Mexican claiming you're Native. You're just being a little more slick with this shit. She's just being a secret agent conquistador instead of being out there waving with a sword and a shield. She being real secret. She on some Catholic nun type shit. She like, oh yeah, I'm an ally. Let me come to the powwow. Yeah, let me come workshop with you. Yeah.
She didn't infiltrated behind enemy lines.
There it goes. That's how they do it. Exactly what she doing. That's how they infiltrate right there. Talking about just be chill. Nah, bruh. She on the same type height. You feel me? But she looks more European than anything. She doesn't look like I wouldn't even took her for a Mexican. She looks like a European.
White passing and then some more. Yeah.
Yeah. It's best that she don't say it.
Which isn't an Indigenous identity. So yeah, you can be chill. Like,
wait, did she then just say Mexican is not an identity? Wait, what?
Native Mexican identity. He can only say he's Mexican, which isn't an Indigenous identity.
So she just said Mexican is not an Indigenous identity, but she's also trying to proclaim she's Native because she's Mexican. I'm confused. All right, I'm down. We ain't even gonna watch no more of that. We're gonna lose brain cells on that one right there. Okay, we're gonna lose some brain cells, but hold on. What is this one right here about? I see old boy. He's looking strange. You got the American flag in the back. I see a Mexican flag. I see a feather.
He's having a complete identity crisis. He is. To me, it looks like a mental breakdown. I think somebody should call help for him. Get a straight jacket because this guy wants to identify as everything.
Damn, well, let's see.
Ask me this question, whether I'm Native American, whether I'm Mexican Indigenous, or I'm Mexican Spanish. And that's
damn, wait a minute. That sounds like an identity crisis. He said what?
A lot of people ask me this question, whether I'm Native American, whether I'm Mexican Indigenous, or I'm Mexican Spanish. And that's because I don't have a lot of hair on my body. In fact, any native to America, whether it be South America, Central America, or North America, if you were a Native Indigenous person, you didn't have much hair on your body. But then I have lighter colored eyes. So it's like, am I one or the other? And the simple answer is, I'm Mexican American. Both of my parents are Mexican, and I was born here in America, so I'm Mexican American. But you know what? When you really think about it, I could even say that I'm native.
So you descend from European migrants, okay?
When you really think about it, I could even say that I'm Native American.
Wait, what?
Really think about it, I could even say that I'm Native American because the fact is that many of the countries in Southwest United States used to belong to Mexico and be Mexican territory. California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, all used to be Mexico, and the people that lived there were Mexican. And yes, this includes Native Americans that used to live there. Also parts of Colorado, parts of Wyoming.
I wanted to know that I know that I am right. Oh, you got the new Modella? That's what's up. That's what's up. I see. That's your BMW? That's your BMW? That's nice. That's your girl? That's your girl? Wait. I see. But, I just want to know one thing. You ready? Why the line?
Yeah, talk about some flawed logic, y'all. Talk about some flawed logic. So he's saying, oh, hey, parts of the USA used to be Spanish territory. So that means we're Native Americans. No, that's like saying, hey, Louisiana used to be French territory. So a descendant of a French colonizer is now a Native American because what was once French territory is now U.S. territory. That makes no sense. Just because the territory changes European colonizer hands doesn't change the fact that you descend from those European colonizers. And this is the elephant in the room that they don't want to talk about, y'all. Let's see what else.
Includes Native Americans that used to live there. Also, Texas, all used to be Mexico, and the people that lived there were Mexican. And yes, this includes Native Americans that used to live.
Thank you, Star Child. Spanish Europeans stole California and the rest of Central and South America from the indigenous, but they want to say, well, we stole it from the Americans first, so we're Native Americans now. What the fuck? Huh? That don't even make no sense. Shout out to Boxing. Logics United. Thank you for the contribution. Says, love what you do, bro. Keep waking us up. Will do, brother. Thank you. Y'all, this is baffling.
There. Also parts of Colorado, parts of Wyoming, parts of Kansas, and even Oklahoma used to belong to Mexico. And some of these Native Americans were in Mexico at that time. These territories were in fact part of Mexico before the mid-19th century. So it's crazy to think that some Native Americans could have been considered Mexican Native Americans at some point in time.
Oh my God, we just got guys. If you're having an identity crisis and you're Hispanic, okay, you can go to nativeblack.ancestry.com and you can book a consultation. Okay, I don't discriminate. If you live in the Americas, period. If you are in the Americas, period, and you need help figuring out where you come from, okay, go to nativeblack.ancestry.com. Because you Spaniards, you Latinos, y'all got a lot of black ancestry that y'all don't want to talk about. Let's talk about it, y'all. Come on. This is crazy, y'all. This is crazy. I got to cut to a quick commercial break just to cleanse my palate real quick. It's just so much tomfoolery coming from the Mexicans.
Hi, my name is Michelle, and I came across Mike on YouTube showing some historical information about how, we're not all from Africa. And of course, it got my attention as I've been doing my genealogy research for a little while, but I hit a brick road and I needed more help. So the consultation that I had with Mike, it was great, very informative. It showed me a lot of history that I was unaware of. And it's made me more aware of what I don't know. So with finding him, I'm pretty sure that it's going to open up a new door, information about who I really am, who my lineage is. And I'm excited to get started. I'm so happy to have found him, and I recommend him to anyone who may have hit a brick road, who is interested in, going a little bit further than they may have been able to get, or just to find out the truth about your ancestry. Contact them.
Let's talk about it, y'all. Real people, real results. Make sure to check out nativeblack.ancestry.com if you need assistance with genealogy research. We're gonna play one more video and then we'll segue into our next live stream. What is this one about? It looks like we may be ending on a high note. Okay, it looks like we got a beautiful melanated sister here that we can end the broadcast with, so we don't have to close out listening to these Latinos bang on one another for claiming native when they're not native, but they think they native, but they're not native. I mean, what is this one about, Joshina? Oh, and you know what? I got you on mute. My bad. Hold on. Let me unmute you. There you go. Go for it.
Well, like you said, it's right on topic. She is going to go right into the Olmecs. She's going to go into the identity crisis that the Mexicans are having, and kind of like ties it all together.
All right, well, let's get into it.
I don't know why y'all trying to make it seem like to my people. I just want to know why you white Mexicans always trying to take credit for what the brown skinned people do. Who welcomed the slaves? Brown people that look like me, not you. Not you. When y'all came here and integrated into our neighborhoods, you came as white people. You fought for that since 1930. So I don't know why y'all trying to make it seem like to my people that y'all been browning down with us. Y'all ain't been down with us. I'm a 9 tray baby. I remember the riots in middle school between blacks and Mexicans. Ain't no damn black and fucking brown. Black people are brown. Hello, do you see my skin color? Or are you that dumb? Did y'all not graduate kindergarten? Black is a status. Ain't got nothing to do with my skin color. But please, stop making it seem like y'all welcome slaves. Like y'all are so kumbaya with my people. Y'all not. Like, stop. Ain't never been black and brown. Y'all only use Tupac when it's convenient.
Ooh, not you only use Tupac when it's convenient. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, she was cooking on that one.
I think I got the wrong topic, but this is still a good one.
Yeah, that was still a good one. Regardless, okay. She laid it down, dropped the mic on us. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and do a quick round robin of closing remarks. When we close out this broadcast, don't go anywhere, guys. We still got more content on the way. As soon as this stream ends, there's going to be like a 5-second countdown on your screen, and then it'll push you into the next live stream automatically. But let's do some closing remarks. Let's start with Empress. What's on your mind?
I would just like to say basically the same thing to Latin America as I would say to the Pan-Africans and Africans. Claim what you want to claim. I'm not going to come from you unless you come from me. Leave me and my indigeneity alone, and I won't worry about yours. And Viva la Gasparyenga. Yeah, the one who gave y'all first free city of independence in South America. A black man, a black indigenous man. Yeah. And then came y'all black president. Y'all got to give us our props, man. We helped y'all a lot more than what y'all give up to us. But anyway, on that note, sis.
Well, I would like to just add to that and say that, you know, there were Black indigenous people here before Spain came over and conquered and colonized in Americas and Southern America and on, you know, in the Caribbean islands. It's been proven. Queen Khalifa was here. It's been recorded. They tried to say it was a romanticized or a fantasy. And but how many people had this same fantasy about this same woman? The Amazonians, Queen Khalifa's people were here, and she ruled a big part of the what we call the United States of North America and South America, all the way to the Caribbean islands. They try to disinherit and you know, disconnect from the indigenous blood that they do have, and unfortunately it has worked. They have very few indigenous people left. They just now have started to recognize and honor the Afro-Indigenous people of their land. right now in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. They just started counting Afro-Indigenous people in Mexico on the 2020 census. So they're moving in the right direction, but it's taking too long. And also the indigenous people of their land need to stand up and speak out a lot more, because you are still being erased right now to this day. So on that note, do your genealogy, book with Mike. He can help you to find your roots and your lineage. And we'll see you in the next live.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys rocking with me. In the next live stream, I'll definitely drop a link if you guys want to hang out with me some more. We will be celebrating my birthday a bit on the next live stream.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm an old man now, y'all.
Yeah, let's
Oh man, I'm having a midlife crisis. Or quarter life midlife crisis. I don't know. All right, well, guys, don't go anywhere. As soon as this broadcast ends, it'll push you into the next one. We'll see you in just a moment.
They don't want you to remember this. You not no slave, you indigenous. Fuck how they painted them Indians. You went to war with the French and the British men. Quite frankly, you was kings Merovingians. They took the women and men, made them prisoners. Raised up the children to worship their images. Set up a lab to the genes and they mixed them. And this shit get way deeper than your pigment.